Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, an alternate accounts story. Believe it or not, I've had quite a few requests for my alternate account videos, and it's just showing a different GP. You can see I'm at 2.3 million GP as of this filming. I was at less than that when it started, I think, but these are the stats that I have right now, so that's what you guys get to see. Honestly, guys, I just can't afford to spend the time on these kind of videos as I do on my main account, so I'm not doing any video clips, I'm not doing any charts or graphs or anything like that. This is mostly going to be stream of consciousness, and I've cut out a lot of the different loading times, and I've done a lot of transitions, so hopefully that cuts down on the amount of time that it takes to show you guys my first 6 matches. And in reality, I'm only showing you 5 because one of them I didn't even record because my opponent just deployed defense, or didn't deploy defense at all, and so it just auto deployed, and it wasn't really worth showing anything for. So anyways, guys, let's just jump into it here. My first opponent forgot to place 2 of their defenses in the back because it's 2 up front, in the first 2 zones, and then it's supposed to be 4 in the back zone, but they apparently just forgot to do it in the back zone. So, nice gift for me to start off the match, and we're running into this Stormtrooper Han Xaereth R2 squad. And one thing that you've come to accept after a while in Division 5 and higher is the fact that people are typically just going to be running just like random hodgepodge squads sometimes. Sometimes people have really coherent, really strong squads, but that's not always the case. And so this is one of those just hodgepodge, like Stormtrooper Han has a leadership, so I guess it's good that my opponent placed that team on, or placed him on as the lead, but it wasn't challenging at all. And a lot of my first match here, my opponent really didn't place a ton of really strong defensive teams, and so I'm trying to undersize a lot of different fights. And this is another example. Like, you want to take Bastila with Ezra. My Bastila is gear 8 without her Zeta. Ezra is gear 11, and you can just destroy teams with that just because of your extra protection bonus. And we got through the first zone, no idea what's in the back zone. Apparently I forgot to, or I deleted that, and so I'm just taking Commander Luke here for an undersized win if I can. Took out Wedge, and this was maybe not the most amazing idea, just because there is a stun for Farm Boy Luke, but in the end it's okay. I mean, gear 12 Commander Luke isn't the most amazing character ever. He's pretty strong, but he definitely you can't solo very many squads. So that was an exceptionally weak squad there. Now we have Padme with Jedi Knight Anakin, and we're facing off against these troopers, and if I remember correctly, my opponent really didn't even mod a lot of their teams very well. Some of them had mods, and they were like level 3 and random stuff, so good for them that they're even playing, but it wasn't really that hard. So we get into this match, and my bigs took kind of a hit here, and honestly, it was a pretty impressive start to the match, but you have Biggs and Wedge in the starting 3. I mean, it's not going to be that strong of a lineup. So you have the Scimitar ship that comes in, and I haven't seen that ship for so long. I think that actually there's some kind of a counter for Negotiator using Sith ships now, but I haven't really needed it, so I haven't paid too much attention. But once again, this is just kind of a hodgepodge thing, and in Division 5, you're going to get a lot of characters who are just or a lot of players who are just kind of unfocused and just, they're collectors or whatever. Like, no judgment at all on them, but, there's going to be a lot of people who play like that, and if you're going to match up against them, like, you just have to keep in mind, like, don't get too frustrated. So, one advantage that I have in over a lot of my opponents in Division 5 is the fact that I have Wat Tambor, and even though he's only gear 9, what you do here, you put the weapons tech on General Grievous, so then he starts ignoring all the armor, and if there's a revive mechanic, which there isn't in this squad, but if there is, then he will just ignore. He will disallow revives, and I've actually been doing that for my alt in arena as well against Jedi Knight Revan teams. It's pretty magic, so easy enough. Here I have a Han lead, which he doesn't have a lead, so I'm being facetious, but Han and Chewie taking on this really weak Phoenix team, and we're just trying to rack up all the undersized wins that we can. So lots of 55s this round. Really good. I think that I was in the top 50 after this round. Full cleared my opponent, almost got 2,000 points. Pretty easy match, so I want to know for the day, and let's continue on to the next match. Yeah, 277. That was considerably after I after I had already finished the match. So easy enough. Let's continue. So one thing that I've done with my alt account that a lot of people who are more hyper-focused on this game than I am have been doing is, I haven't been focusing on the 2 Revan squads. I realize that a lot of people have been doing the Revan team and everything. I don't know. I've been working on other squads, and I don't know if that's the better strategy or not. I won't get into my strategy too much here, but what I'm trying to do here is see if I can even beat this Darth Revan team. Like at 2.3 million GP or less, it's pretty ridiculous that my opponent has a Malak and Darth Revan and Bastila, and they're all like ridiculously well modded. And so, I was trying to do my burner trick where you sacrifice one squad and have them use all their good abilities, and then I can hopefully like snipe Bastila or something, and that just didn't work here. My Commander Luke team is just undergeared compared to theirs, and so I just lost, and I decided to give up on that zone immediately thereafter. So we're just trying to clear one zone to try to get into the back zone with the ships, and we're just going to see if we can hopefully out attrition my opponent. They did put like all of their good teams and squads on defense, which is one of the most annoying methods of gameplay that I've ever encountered. Grand Arena in general, like you hear my frustration on my main account as well, talking about how people who just place all of their good squads on defense and then try to just win by beating like 1 or 2 squads, that how frustrating they can be. So that's the case in Division 5 as well. You see it more often in Division 5. I feel like a lot of people get both Revans and they think that they're awesome, so they put both on defense in alternate zones, and then they just assume that their opponent can't clear and that they're going to be placing some really weak squads on defense or something. And to be fair, I don't have the most amazing squads on defense either, but the fact remains that their strategy is a really frustrating one for me, just because I can't clear those squads very well. The thing is, they can't clear mine either because they put everything on defense. You can see the Jedi Revan, and they have all the different characters that go with Jedi Revan in the other squad. And so I took him out with Bosk. Bosk is a great one against Bastila lead. And now I'm trying to find a way to beat this Jedi Revan team, and I wasted my Commander Luke team on that Darth Revan team, so I've kind of got a little bit of struggle on my hands. My Padme squad is strong now. They're all gear 12, but they're not amazing. Honestly, they could be a lot better. And so, here's what I'm trying to do here is take out this Jedi Revan team, and at gear 12, it's a really frustrating match using Padme versus Jedi Revan. You don't really have what it takes to be able to beat them. At gear 13 at high relic levels, then absolutely Padme can beat this team consistently. Consistently-ish. In 3v3 it's still a crapshoot, honestly, but if I can just kill one of these characters here, then hopefully I'll be able to take this team out with some other squad of mine. Otherwise, I won't be able to clear even one zone, and I'll most definitely lose. So we're just taking our time here, trying to take out someone, and clearly that didn't work out. Jedi Anakin is gone, and Yoda is good to go, and we're going to have to find some other solution here, because this is just not working. Now, one thing I will say at my GP level here is that I've just gone for a more crafty defense. I've put a couple pretty tough squads on defense, but otherwise, I've kept most of my really strong offensive squads available just so that I'm able to full clear if possible. Obviously, Darth Revan threw a hitch in my plans here, but now what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to get some kills here with droids. If I can get even one kill, then hopefully I'll be able to full clear here. So I got one kill using Grievous here. He's got the weapons tech from Watt right before Watt died, and so Savior's already been used, and the hope was that I'd be able to take out that Revan. Like he was just at a sliver of health there, and obviously didn't work out, and I just keep hitting Revan for some reason, not really panning out the way I wanted to. In the 3v3, Grievous can be frustrating character to use, and so just because he doesn't have the huge number of characters available to him, at the very end I was able to eke out a kill on Grandmaster Yoda, so that was nice. And then he wasn't able to revive because I had the weapons tech. But, General Grievous on offense, he's still strong, but he doesn't have 4 characters to reset his AoEs constantly. So, not quite as good. Still pretty good, though. So now I'm taking my own Jedi Revan, which I only have 1 Zeta on him, and it's not the leadership. So, just trying to make do with what we have. All my characters here are Gear 11 versus their 2 Gear 12s, but... it's still fine. I mean, first off, I have the non-AoE ability to play, so hopefully I can outplay the AoE. Now that I killed Revan once, I can hopefully maybe I'll be able to kill him a second time and then take Jolee out before anything else bad happens. You can see my opponent actually put a lot of mods on his Revan that were protection based or survivability based, and so I'm having trouble finishing off his Revan. Finally did, and now we just have to take Jolee out. Most likely he's just going to revive Revan once again, and we're just going to go around in circles for a long time. I was really hoping that I'd get the big hit there from Yoda, not that I would probably be able to kill the Jolee in that one hit, but hopefully be able to reduce his turn meter, even though he's got a huge amount of resistance to that sort of thing. So now we're just trying to take Jolee out once again. Took out Revan, and eventually he's going to get far enough behind on his revives that he's not going to be able to take Revan or get Revan back in, and hopefully I just don't time out before then. So finally got him out. 21 banners is like almost no banners, and somehow I got promoted into the next league from that anyways. So now we're in Bronzium, and we can hit ships. So we can clear 2 zones hopefully, and this is a Geonosian squad, and my Millennium Falcon squad should do just fine here, honestly. So the goal in this particular match is you want to be able to target off the soldier as quick as you can. That doesn't always happen, obviously. Sunfac starts taunting pretty quick, but then if you're using Akbar, then you can target soldier with your mass assist, and hopefully you're going to be able to at least take soldier out that way. And so here you see my opponent has a hyena bomber, which is frustrating. I don't think I've ever faced a hyena bomber, even on my main account, and so who knows what it does. Apparently my opponent spent enough money. I mean, they clearly spent a bunch of money to be able to get these crazy, ridiculous mods, and both of the Revans and stuff. I mean, you can have both Revans at this point, at this level, without spending money, but with those level of mods and stuff, clearly my opponent has put a certain amount of investment into this account, and no judgment or anything by any stretch, of course not, but it is kind of funny to see things like the hyena bomber here, because you had to have a ton of refreshes during the Galactic Chase to be able to even have it unlocked. My alt was nowhere near that, so Anyways, got the win here regardless. And now, even though we're kind of operating under a deficit here, it's going to be a tricky thing to be able to beat my opponent. I figured I may as well take out his Phoenix squad. So we're just taking Bastila here with Ezra and Ahsoka, and they all have the Jedi synergy. I mean, that's basically all they have. But that's really enough against Phoenix. They're not Gear 12 or anything. They're just a filler squad. So, a pretty quick, easy 50 points if I can finish the deal here, which Phoenix aren't really going to get in the way of. And at least the round is short because I don't have to clear the back zone with all the 4 squads there because Darth Revan is blocking the way. So, pretty pitiful second round, but as you can see, my opponent attacked after me, and they failed 3 times against Palpatine, Bastila, and they couldn't get through the other squad in there either. They one-shot my Kira Nest team, which sucks, but then they couldn't get past my 5-star negotiator, and so they only cleared 1 squad, and honestly, it serves them right. It's so annoying to the way they deployed their defenses. I don't know. It was so frustrating. I was really happy to see that they had failed against me. If you put all your squads on defense and then you can't clear on offense, then that serves you right. No regrets on that one whatsoever. So, we're in the finals now. My opponent has a really strong roster, lots of Gear 12s, some Gear 13s, and so we're just going to try to take them out. All their teams are pretty decently synergized. So we're just trying to find the best squads to be able to clear. Obviously the goal is always to full clear if we can. And so I'm taking this General Grievous squad against Maul and Savage team. And you see their Gear 12. And I don't know that that's necessarily the best investment at the 2 million mark, but it do pose a problem. Like, they all have Zetas, and honestly, my opponent put all of their Gear 12s on defense, like at least almost all of them. So once again, they're employing the turtle defense, we're not going to be able to attack worth anything, but we're going to absolutely be able to prevent you from clearing all the way, or at least they're going to try to. So actually, now that I say that, I don't know that they took all of their squads on defense, but this was a very similar team. Like, you can see that there were 3 Phoenix here, and I believe that all 3 of them had their Zetas. They have Gear 12. My opponent is apparently a completionist, so they wanted to finish these squads, even though they aren't very good anymore. And then you put them on defense, and I guess that this squad can get some stops if you don't have enough offensive firepower. I would say that this team should probably be in the back zone, though. It's more of a timeout team than any kind of kill you before it's killed. It's not like a glass cannon. Like Night Sisters will, they're pretty squishy, but they have so much offense that if you attack them with the wrong squad, then you'll just get blown away without being able to take them out in response. And this squad is not like that. Like, they're durable, and they're tough to chew through, and they will beat you if you give them the chance. So you can see it in the back zone. I think that they should have put the Phoenix squad back there, but to each his own. So it looks like we'll be able to full clear, or at least clear the back zone, most of the squads back there, but we really want to be able to get to ships because that's a huge number of points that we'd be sacrificing. And so I'm taking bounty hunters against these Bastila Jedi, and it can be a really tricky thing to beat this squad but with bounty hunters, but the thing that you probably just observed was you see all these huge number of buffs on Bastila, and that's a really awesome thing most times when you use this squad, but the one liability is the execute from Boba is really strong here. He does damage with his execute ability based on the number of buffs and debuffs he can dispel with it, and he dispels all of them that aren't locked. And so if there's a huge number of buffs and debuffs, in this case it's Bastila having a ton of buffs, he can just use execute and just totally obliterate them. And then the other awesome thing about this is if he does that, if he uses execute and takes someone out like he did against Yoda, and now he just did against Bastila, Jolie can't revive. He can't revive them. Because there's special rules. Django also has a similar rule, so you can execute with Boba or do any attacks with Django, and as long as it's during Django's turn, then the character isn't going to be able to revive. And so this Bounty Hunters team is kind of custom built to be able to counter a Bastila squad with Jolie. It doesn't always work. This squad can really give you a lot of problems at times, but in this case my modding and my gear was probably a little bit higher than my opponent's, and we both had the same level of gear, but we didn't we definitely didn't have the same level of mods. My mods on this account are actually really good for Division 5. So now we're taking Padme against Emperor Palpatine, and once again they have all their Zetas and they're really strong, but as long as I have the protection up buff, then I can evade all of their or rather I can resist all of their attempts to debuff me. And the entire premise behind an Emperor Palpatine squad is being able to debuff, and if you can debuff people, then once those debuffs go away, then it feeds turn meter, and without that turn meter, the squad just really isn't good at all. And so Padme is a hard counter to Emperor Palpatine, at least once they're in their final versions. I don't know about earlier versions, like Gear 11 and stuff. But anyways, got through that zone. Now we get to face this Tarkin fleet, and you'll note that with my ult, I just don't care about the order in which I take out teams and everything. I just fly in and destroy things when I'm in Grand Arena with my ult. With my main, I tend to just go all squads first, and then if I can get through to ships, which isn't always the case, but if I do get through ships, then I'm able to, readjust and go after them. So, it's more of like a momentum thing, honestly, and so a lot of times momentum is just a mental thing. So if you feel like you're making progress, then you are kind of ordeal. So in this case on my alt, I just don't feel like I have that issue. So I don't know what that tells us about my psyche, but I am just able to attack with ships and take them out before I take out all the squads. So pretty high banner level there for my fleet, and now I have these 4 squads in the back, the strongest of which is this Jedi Revan squad with Mission and Zalbar, and it's kind of an interesting squad, I guess. Revan has a few just kind of random synergy points with Mission and Zalbar, like he gains more speed because of them. But really, it's a pretty indifferent leader for them. The thing about Mission and Zalbar, like they have their Zetas, of course they do, but they do really well without any kind of leadership. Like they work on really well under every leader. So anyways, that I was able to take him out fairly easily with my really strong Commander Luke squad, and now I'm taking out this First Order team with my Jedi Revan squad. And one thing that I've had to become accustomed to in this 3v3 format is using my Jedi Revan without his leadership Zeta as the lead, because I can't use him with Bastila, or I could, but then I don't know. I think that the squads that I have currently in place are probably going to be the most effective. So I guess I could use Grandmaster Yoda's leadership, but he also doesn't have a Zeta on his leadership, and I'm absolutely not going to invest in that. So there's really no point in using that as leadership either. And honestly, the Jedi Revan lead is still just fine without a Zeta. It just isn't as completely ridiculous as it is with. So that's actually going to probably be my next Zeta. I did put one on Kylo Ren Unmasked recently, and that's just because I want to be ready for the new movie characters and the new movie squads, and he's a great lead Zeta anyway. So anyways, moving on to this next match, I really wasn't sure what to take against these clones. Like they're not amazing, and my opponent used Cody as their lead, so I don't really know what they were thinking. I think Rex is pretty much always going to be a better lead here, but I was happy enough to take advantage of that, and you can see I failed here. I took out a character before I took out Fives, and so Five sacrificed himself, and that's too bad, but then I was able to kill him anyways, so not a big deal. Night Sisters are probably a pretty indifferent choice against a lot of clone teams at higher levels, but at lower levels anything goes, especially under Cody lead. So now we've got these bounty hunters, and so I'm running the Kylo Ren with First Order Executioner combo here, and so you put the weapons tech on Executioner, and he's only gear 9, and Kylo Ren Unmasked is only gear 8, and Watt is only gear 9, and all of these bounty hunters are gear 11 and 12. And it seems so ludicrous to me that I can actually beat this, but you can see I have full health, and my modding is pretty good on these guys even at this low level, and there was Jango and Boba there, and they rely on having that bounty hunter's resolve to be able to revive them, and the weapons tech from Watt just totally negates that, and so able to just take them out pretty quick. And I did get the full clear with a lot of good hits, and then my opponent attacked. They couldn't kill my Newt squad, and after they failed that, then they just gave up apparently. So I'm just showing you the defenses that I have here, because I haven't shown them all to you yet. And anyways, I was able to get the win in the finals, and my opponent didn't even beat any of my squads, so that's nice. Got a couple extra Zetas, which is always good. And now we're into Group 2. You can see that I didn't make Bronzium, or that I didn't make the Chromium League by just a pretty small margin, which is great because I don't want to get stuck with all the crazies in that league. Now my opponent here has a ton of really high level Sith, and they have a pretty crazy roster actually. And then I wasn't really looking forward to matching up against them, and then I found that their defense was just auto deployed, and that's actually really annoying because I don't think I can beat those squads. And so I apparently have a random shot of making it into like Chromium, I believe, and I did beat my opponent. I don't think I full cleared though. It looks like I missed out on that by one zone, so I apparently didn't even take screenshots, so sorry about that, but got the win on my first round. Now we're matched against Yuri, and they run a Commander Luke team in Arena, which that's pretty good. It's not really up to snuff these days, but they left a relatively weak defense here on the front lines. So taking out this Phoenix squad, I'm just taking Night Sisters, and my Spirit is gear 9. Asajj is gear 11, and Zombie is gear 10. So they're not extremely strong, but you'll see that Spirit still hits pretty well, and Asajj, she doesn't really hit that well, frankly. I do have her leadership Zeta, so they're all hitting at a little bit stronger rate, but this Phoenix squad, Phoenix just don't do that well against Night Sisters, at least not when they're the ones defending against them. I've learned that early on, so that if you want to be able to take a squad out with Night Sisters, I kind of rely on Night Sisters as one of my offensive teams. That's a great target for that. Now we're taking out this Bounty Hunters team with IG-88 lead, and IG-88 lead just dials their critical hits up to as much as possible, so we really gotta be careful here. But none of these characters are really synergized super well with each other, and honestly, my First Order, even though they're gear 8, and gear 9 respectively here, still just able to take out that Bounty Hunters team really fast and easy. So we're into the back zone here, and a bunch of just crap teams, just nothing. It's like embarrassing. So go into this other zone, and it's the Ewok zone apparently, and I get to use my Commander Luke to slaughter Ewoks. I probably should have undersized this. I don't know why I didn't. I think this was a good opportunity to be able to undersize this, but they did take Logray there as the third character instead of Ewok Elder, which it can be pretty good just because he's one of the strongest Ewoks because he has days and he has a lot of other things going on. But I don't know. It was obviously a pretty wanton slaughter. Like, if I can use Commander Luke against a team like that, there's just no way I'm going to lose. So the other Ewok squad is pretty weak here. I think that it's Tebow lead, which is interesting. I haven't really faced Tebow ever, hardly. And the fact that my opponent spent gear on Tebow means that I have immediate advantage here. He's a terrible character, and you should never gear him. So, able to take him out with bounty hunters as God wills, and my opponent had one of the weakest fleets I'd ever seen. All of the starting lineup had, 3 or 4 stars. Not strong at all. So, and that this isn't Han's Millennium Falcon, this is Rey's Millennium Falcon. So we're just, I think I undersized this attack at least because there was just not going to be any challenge whatsoever here. Just hopefully I'm able to get as many banners as possible. We want to max banners whenever we can. So, what I probably should have done there was just use the heal from Akbar to get a little bit more protection back, but whatever. That was a pretty throwaway squad. So now we just have the back zone here, and we have a really, really awful back line. There's really nothing of interest at all. The Night Sisters probably posed the most threat, and they didn't pose much threat. So, we're just taking Grievous here. The zombies being annoying as usual, as zombie will. And so once we can take out old Daka, which, zombie's going to revive her every once in a while, but once we can take old Daka out, then the rest of the squad going to go down pretty easy. And so AoE from General Grievous, easy enough. So now we're taking an undersized squad here with Revan and Grandmaster Yoda. Don't need to worry about Jolie. Jolie doesn't add anything other than security, and he adds a few other things. He's a good addition to the squad. But when you're going to win a match, then without him, on offense, you may as well just go without. So Revan and Grandmaster Yoda here, pretty simple win. Just not a challenge at all. And we can move on to the next squad. 54 banners is great. 55 would have been max, but that's okay. Now we're taking Padme with Jedi Knight Anakin, and you can see Grievous's health pool looks huge there initially. I was like, maybe I made a mistake, but then I realized that he's only he's less than gear 12, and pre-gear 12, General Grievous is just awful. He's so bad. He doesn't do any damage because everything is health based. All his damage is health based. So, he doesn't have any health before he gets to gear 12. Frankly, he gains like 20,000 health when he gets there. So, we have Rebel Officer Leia Organa, which is impressive that my opponent has her unlocked. I don't have her unlocked on my alt. But once again, we're taking this undersized squad here with Bastila and Ezra, and really easy win. Got the full clear here, almost 2,000 points, and my opponent failed against my front, beat my front zone. They failed a couple times, maybe just once against my Palpatine team. Couldn't break my fleet, which is becoming a theme, and then they didn't even try against my back zone. I don't know why, but they didn't even try. So got the win here, made to the finals, and we're in Chromium, things are looking up, and I'm facing off against someone called Mugiwara, who is a tactical genius, apparently. And you can see that my opponent had Darth Revan as their arena team, but they did not put Darth Revan on their front zones anyways. So, we've got a good chance here. I assume that they saved Darth Revan for offense. So we're taking on this Night Sisters team with these Bosk and the two Fets, and this is actually a reasonably well geared squad, and they can pose some problems, of course, for a lot of teams. But the thing that's awesome, I already pointed out previously in this video, is Boba and Jango can both deny Night Sisters the ability to revive, and so you can see here, Zombie was never used to be able to revive either of the characters. I was able to take out that Talzin and Asajj squad really easy, even though Talzin had her lead Zeta. Just didn't matter. I was able to just execute them and take them out. So now we have this Jedi Knight Revan team. I was able to get the weapons tech on Grievous, so now if I can get past Savior, any kills past that, then I'll be able to negate their ability to revive, and that's always preferable when we have Jolee here. Bounty Hunters don't do too well against Jedi Knight Revan, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now we're just hoping that I'm able to kill at least one of these characters here. I did get Savior off, or I used Savior already, and so once that was expelled, Jolee just tried to revive both of them and get all annoying, but he couldn't do it, so managed to take him out. And now we have Geonosians, really low gear Geonosians, and this is probably the biggest mistake I've made in all of my matches so far with my alt. Unless it was trying to take out that Darth Revan team, which that had to be tried, so I don't really regret that. But I figured my Ezra would hopefully be able to one-shot one of these Geonosians. Then I realized once I got in there that all the Geonosians, like he has a Zeta on the Brood Alpha, which gives them all an extra like 30,000 health. So not gonna happen. Can't one-shot him. That was foolish. Have to take in my Commander Luke team, which this is total overkill, really. I mean, even though they're only gear 12, I guess my Chewie is gear 13 randomly, but yeah, this is just total overkill. These are like gear 8 bugs. Really not good, but really strong in Division 5. Like if you're working on Division 5, like you should definitely be working on bugs. They're an amazing defensive team. All my bugs are like gear 7, and they get holds all the time. At least in 5v5 they did. No one attacks my back zone in Division 5 though, so you have that. Or in 3v3. So now we're taking my Padme against the Bounty Hunters, and I've mentioned before that this can be kind of a risky match just because all of the different stacks of buffs that we have. If Boba can get a really strong execute off, then he can one-shot my characters. However, that usually is only the case once you get to the higher like relic levels, and their Boba isn't relicked. In Division 5, people would have to be a little bit crazy to be able to take that risk. Maybe not crazy, like they'd have to be enthusiasts of the Bounty Hunters. So anyways, my opponent did have gear 12 Boba, so who knows, maybe they're only one piece off, but one way or another, it wasn't enough to be able to execute my Padme squad, and got 53 banners, pretty good. And now we've gotten through the front 2 zones. We have 4 really awful squads in the back plus a fleet, and now let's just move in with an undersized squad once again, trying to get as many of those feats as possible. And this is actually a decent squad. Houndstooth and Xanadu Blood and Bosk, their Bosk is gear 12. He's pretty well geared. So we're just trying to, take out the TIE Fighter if we can. Managed to get it with an AoE there, even though Houndstooth was taunting. And now I took in Xanadu Blood. Maybe I should have taken in my Phantom like I usually do. I just wanted to be able to call an assist though. So I wanted to take out their Xanadu Blood before they got reinforcements, and so that's what I did. Emperor shuttles coming in, and that's apparently a really good ship, but I never see it in arena on my main, and my alt doesn't really play in any kind of arena except for feats sometimes, and apparently this was not a very strong specimen of Emperor shuttle, so took it out, 66 banners, wonderful. Got the hit there, and finally we've got in the back zone just a bunch of just really awful teams. The strongest team is probably this Xaereth with Mission and Zalbar, and I didn't really have any great characters to be able to take it out with. I decided to go with my Saj team. Saj does have her leadership Zeta, but I don't have any other Zetas. And so what we're trying to do here is just take out Xaereth or Mission first. I know a lot of people, it's kind of a popular thing for people to say they want to take out Mission first just because she has so much synergy with Zalbar, and that's great. In theory, that's wonderful. I really like the idea of being able to do that. However, she is less squishy than Xaereth, and she has her stealth ability. Honestly, like, I don't really think it's a good idea to take out Mission first. You can see that I've been kind of dancing around here targeting different characters because the second I take out the last bit of protection on Xaereth, then Zalbar passively taunts, and that taunt can be really frustrating to be able to deal with. We're just trying to get to the point where we're trying to finesse the situation to where we're able to take Xaereth out. We reduce his health, or rather his protection, to the point where Zalbar taunts, and then Asajj goes immediately and dispels, and then you're able to take out Xaereth with the rest of your hits. So one thing I want to point out too is my zombie's been kind of bouncing around on her hits, and she's usually just been doing her basic attack. And the basic attack is great because it gives tenacity down. Tenacity down means that I can get debuffs on characters without really working that hard on it. Even if Zalbar was modded for tenacity, which this one wasn't, even if he was, though, with tenacity down, I could just ignore all of his tenacity. He could have 7,000 tenacity, and I would still be able to get any debuffs I wanted on him, as long as the percentage to actually get it off goes off. So, not a big deal here. I probably should have spent a little bit of time trying to heal at the end. I could have gotten one more banner on from Zombie, but I didn't. So this is kind of a random squad. I was really out of good squads at this point. My opponent did put a lot on defense, and a lot of their squads were actually pretty credible. The squads weren't as awful as my initial impressions were, just because they had like a gear for Kira or something. That was just to go with their nest, which we'll tackle in a little bit. But this is a hodgepodge team. They don't have a super huge amount of gear, but at the same time, I'm running out of characters with good gear. So I do have a gear 11 on Biggs, gear 12 on R2, and then Akbar is gear 9, perhaps. So I do outgear them, but Phoenix have a lot of internal synergy, so I wasn't really sure how this was going to go. I figured R2 would just be able to go crazy with his stuns, and there wasn't really anything they could do about it. I guess Kanan can dispel stuns, but they didn't have Zetas on him, so Hera couldn't dispel stuns. And otherwise, I could just stealth and make a nuisance of myself, and if, worst case scenario, I could just quit the match and try with a different team. So I was able to take that squad out. Now, this was kind of a funny one. My opponent had like kind of the same amounts of gear that I had on all of my characters, but I had all of mine significantly faster and stronger. So all of my modding has paid off in this case, so I just jumped right in. And if you can go first, you can get the 2-turn stun on Kylo Ren unmasked, and in 3v3, there's not a character who can dispel that 2-turn stun, and so you can just go to town, and that's what I did. Got the stun on him, and killed Executioner, killed him, killed the other Kylo, 50 banners, wonderful. And now the last kind of an interesting one. As I said before, level 44 Kira, horrible. Probably should get that level up so that her leadership can get to the full amount. But this Canderous is actually kind of strong. He's got gear 11, and he's got the Zeta, which means that he does extra damage to people with Death Mark and Taunt, I believe. And So he's kind of a weird choice with this squad. I guess he is buffed by Kira, so that's nice. This is actually a kind of a sneakily good squad for Division 5. And now we have a Gear 9 nest, so the hope is that I'm just going to be able to one-shot with Grandmaster Yoda, which is exactly what happened. And I was able to get the full clear with one-shots, except for that Geonosian team up top. And after I went to bed and came back, my opponent did finally full clear me, except for my ships. So let's see. The Newt team lost. The Emperor Palpatine team took one off of my opponent, so that would have probably netted me the win anyways. And then they were able to one-shot all of my teams except for my Hera squad, which Phoenix, I was just bad-mouthing them, but they did get 3 defenses until they got taken out. And then, of course, my ships held. I don't think anyone in Division 5 is really ready to face off against a negotiator, so, that's kind of nice to have that trump card. So far, no one's cleared that fleet, so let's see if that can keep going. Anyways, I got the second group win, and I'm at 6-0 so far with my alt in 3v3, and loving it, having a lot of fun. Hopefully we can keep up the streak, and we'll see if I actually make a video for my next half. Hopefully I do, but until then, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.